Hi everyone, my name is Mr. Krolia, or you could just know me as Mr. K. And I'm a primary teacher, and I currently teach a year three class. And I've been a primary teacher. Today, I am going to teach you a lesson on multiplying a two-digit number by a one-digit number. I'm going to start off really simply, and then I'm going to give you two methods to help you work out how to multiply a two-digit number by a one-digit number. Hopefully that should help, because sometimes that can be a little bit tricky.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Mr. K. So before we get on with the lesson, can you just tell us what inspired you to become a teacher?
A range of things, really. From a young age, I've seen my dad being a coach, and I was always in that environment where my dad was coaching me, or I was going with him to other places. And the idea of teaching just kind of really inspired me. It interested me, and for me, I just, I felt that I wanted to give back. I always wanted to give back, and I saw myself as a bit of a teacher. So I've had different experiences working in different environments, doing different kinds of teaching. Even though I'm a primary teacher now, I was always interested in terms of how do people learn? How can you help people learn? How can you help people? And then it was a big decision on whether I taught in high school or whether I taught in a primary school. But in the end, I came up with the decision that I wanted to teach in a primary school. And here I am.
So how is it teaching in a primary school? Do you love it?
I do love it. It's extremely dynamic. It's challenging. It's interesting, but it's fun. No day in a primary school is the same. You might go to school with a certain plan, and you'll get to school, and in about 5 minutes, you'll find out that's not what's going to happen. Everything's changed, and you just kind of have to react. I find that fun. But it's also the idea that I've got my own class and I can interact with them, I can build relationships, and I've really got to know them. And with this homeschooling now, I really do miss my class.
Oh, I bet. So I know you said there that you're a maths teacher. So what would you say was your favourite maths problem?
I would say fractions. Fractions scare a lot of people, but I do love adding and multiplying fractions because then you've got to work using multiplication and you've got to use a division and different kinds of things that you have learned. So I'd say fractions I quite like.
Great. So, Mr. K, let's get on with the lesson then. I'm going to hand over to you now for the lesson of the day.
Right, so I'm just going to share my screen so that you can see what I am doing. Okay, so let's start our lesson. Multiplying a two-digit number by a one-digit number. So we'll start off with a simple question, which is, imagine there were 21 colored balls on a snooker table. How many colored balls are there on three snooker tables? So my multiplication here would be 20, 21 times by 3. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at this number 21, and I want to find out what it represents. The number 21. How many ones are there in 21? And how many tens are there in 21? Because I've got three lots of 21. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to look at the number 21, and I've worked out that in the ones column, I'm going to put a little, that's my tens column and that's my ones column. And I'm going to draw three lots of 1 because I have got three lots of them. So that equals 3. I've got three lots of 1. Then in my tens column, I have got two lots of tens. So I'm going to draw with my base 10, I'm going to draw 110 and two tens. That is just one lot of two tens I've got. But I need three lots of them because the question is asking me to multiply by 3. So I'm going to draw 1. It's another 10. And I'm going to draw another one. Now I have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I've got 6 lots of 10s. Because I've got 2 10s, and 2 10s, and 2 10s, which gives me 6 10s, which is equal to 60. Now, I've separated these two numbers. I have partitioned them. Partition is a mathematical term for when you split a number up into its own value. So that number 21, we partitioned it into the ones, how many ones are there, and how many 10s are there. After I've partitioned it, I have got 3 ones and 6 10s, or 60. The last thing I need to do is now add them up. So if I add 60, add 3, I can do a very quick column addition, and I know that I add the ones up first. I've got 3 ones, and 63 would be my answer. Now that was just the first method where we can draw it. However, just bear with me, I need to clear my page. There we go. Now I'm going to show you the method that we are really going to work on today. Again, I'm going to give you a nice, easy, simple question to start off with, and then we'll make it a little bit harder. So the question we're going to use is 33. Get my pen. 33 times by 3. So there's going to be 3 steps in answering a multiplication question. 3 key steps. The first step, let's go over here, is partition. It's not letting me draw in the box. Let's sort that out and draw in the box. I have to partition the number. This means the number 33, I am going to draw a model and partition it. So I'm going to look at the number 33. How many ones can I see in 33? I can see 3 ones in the ones column. And then now going to look at the tens column, and how many 10s can I see? I can see 3 10s, so 10, 20, 30. I've got 30 in that column. So I've partitioned my number. The next step, the second step that you are going to do, is multiply each of these numbers separately with the number in the question. So the key number here is 3, and then I have got my 2 partition numbers that make up the whole number. So I am going to multiply each number separately. If we go over here, multiply separately. So I'm now going to multiply them separately. I've got 3 times by 3 equals, remember times tables are really important here. If you don't know your simple times tables, your 3 times tables, or your 4 times tables, or your 8 times tables, which we all learn in year 3, then you might find this a little bit stuck. However, if you do, you can count on your fingers. So we've got 3, 6, 9. So I'm going to do that. 3 times 3 equals 9. If you even feel a little bit stuck, you could do 3 groups of 3. So you could do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You could make your 3 groups and then add them up. And if I add them up, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So I've just double checked it there. 3 times 3 is definitely 9. Now the next one is 30 times 3. And you might think, oh, wow, that's really difficult. 30 times 3. But don't worry, because this over here is really important. 30 is 10 times bigger than 3. So my answer from 3 times 3 equals 9, if it's 10 times bigger, I know that 10 times bigger than 9 is 90. Because I know how to multiply by 10, it's really easy. So now I've got 3 times 3 equals 9, 30 times 3 equals 90. Now the final step, what do I need to do? I add them. Hopefully allow space here. Add them. I need to add 90 and 9. Let's do a very quick column method. Recap our learning on addition. I know that 9 at 0 equals 9, and then 9 tens by itself equals 99. So the answer there would be 99. Hopefully that makes sense. But what we're going to do is we're going to have a go at another one. There we go. No, wrong screen. Next question, let's have a go at something a little bit harder. Let's go with 23. Let's go with 22 times 4. Let's use our 4 times table. 22 times 4. So we're going to use the same steps, step number 1, step number 2, and step number 3. See if you can remember what step number 1 is before I tell you. You might have guessed it, you might haven't. But step number 1, I am going to partition. And like I said, partition simply means we're splitting that number up, we're separating it, and looking at exactly what each number represents. What does it mean? So the number 20 or the number 22, what does the 2 and the 2 actually mean? Well, I've drawn my part-whole model, and I've partitioned it, and I have got 22. I've got 1, 2, which is in the ones column, and I have got 20, which is also which is in the tens column. So I've got 20 and I have got 2. Really important, that first step, partition. Next step, multiply separately. So let's have a go at multiplying them separately. I've got 2 times 4. 2 lots of 4 equals 4. And count up in my 4 times tables. We've got 4, 8. Or I could count up in my 2 times table, or we can go 2, 4, 6, 8. So I'm going to put 8 here. And then 20 times 4, very similar to what we did in the last question. 20 times 4. You might see a pattern there. Hopefully you'll see that pattern. We have got 20, which is 10 times bigger than 2. So my answer is going to be 10 times bigger than 8, which is 80. So 20 times 4 equals 80. Final step, nice and easy. We are going to add them. $80, add 8. I can now definitely do that in my head. Remember, if you can't do it in your head, the column method is always there to help you. And I can do 80, 8. That is my answer. Now, let's make it a little bit harder now. I think we can make it definitely a little bit harder. So let's have a go at 23 times 4. So I have got 23 pairs of socks in 4 drawers. If I add them all up, how many single socks do I have? Do a question on that. 23 times 4. So step number 1. I want you to really think and remember, what is step number 1? I'm going to give you a clue here. Yep, I want you to partition that number. So let's go over here. Partition. The number 23, if I put a little T here, a little O here, I know that's in my ones column, and that 2 is in the tens column. It represents 2 tens. So if I continue drawing, I know that this is the number 3 ones, and this represents 2 tens. You might even, if you're finding this a little bit tricky, want to just draw that over here to remind you what that number actually represents. They are my 3 ones, and those are my 2 tens. So I've partitioned them. Step number 1 done. Step number 2, let's put this in a different pen. I am going to multiply them. That's right, multiply them separately. I'm just going to put multiply there because slowly I'm going to take that help away. I'm going to take the steps away so that you remember them yourself. So I'm going to multiply them. Again, I need my times table knowledge over here. So I'm going to do multiply each number separately. Remember that number 4 is really important for the question because I've got 4 lots of 23. So I can do 3 times 4. I can count up in my fingers in the 4 times table or the 3 times table. I can go 3, 6, 9, 12, or 4, 8, 12. And if you're really not sure, you could make your group. So I'm going to make a small group here. That's a group of 3. That's another group of 3. That's another group of 3. I've got 1, 2, 3 groups of 3. I need 1 more group of 3. Now I'm going to add them all up. See how many I've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, definitely 12. 3 times 4 equals 12. Now I need to do 20 times 4. What is 20 times 4? So I know if we use the pattern from the last question, if 2 times 4 equals 8, then 20 times 4 equals 80. Or I could do 20, 40, 60, 80. I could, if you're feeling really good, you can count them in your head. Now, next question. 12 I've got, and I've got 80. What do I need to do next? What do I need to do? Have a good think. What do you need to do? That's right. You need to add them up. So 80 add 12. I'm going to add them up. However, this time, the addition is going to be a little bit more tricky. So I'm going to place my numbers. I'm going to do it in green because I'm green. I'm going to do 80 and 12. I'm going to add them up. 0, I'm going to put my tens and ones there to help you. 0 add 2 equals 2. 8 tens add 1 10 equals 9, 10. So that would equal 90 add 2, which equals 92. There we go. That's the answer. Let's make this even harder now. So let's have a go at a different question. And I'm going to say, let's have a go at 28 times 3. 28 times 3. Making it slightly harder. So, step number 1, I'm not going to write it anymore. I'm going to show you an example. See if you can keep up with me. In this example, I want you to get a pencil or a pen, or if you have a whiteboard, get a pencil or a pen and a piece of paper, and then see if you can work this out with me together. We're going to take it step by step, but I'm going to do less talking now, and I'm going to show you how I would do it. Just waiting, making sure you've had enough time to get a pen or a pencil. Now, let's start. That's step number 1 done. Step number 2. Eight times 3. 12, 15, 18. The next one, do 20 times 3 is 60. Step number 2 completed. Final step. Eight times. And there we go. The answer I got is 84. What did you get? Compare with my answer to yours. I'm going to do one final example now, but I'm going to make it a little bit harder. I'm going to say, I'm going to do 48 times 4. Let's have a go at a much harder one. 48 times 4. So, same method. I'm going to give you time to have a go and practice yourself. I'm just going to put 1, 2, and 3 there before we start. So you might want to think about what the steps are. 48 times 4. Okay, let's make a start. And that represents 40. I've got 40 and I have got 8. Step number 1 completed. I've got that tick there. Step number 2. So 8 times 4. This is a trickier one. You could do this and add them up. Got 4 groups so far. 6 groups so far. If I add all of these up, I can go 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, and 32. So this is my second step that I'm completing. 40 times 4. So I've got 4 lots of 40. Give you a little trick here. If you do 4 times 4, what would the answer be? 4, 8, 12, 16. Easy, right? I can do that with my finger. Now look at the pattern. 4 times 4 is 16. So 40 times 4 is going to be 160. So now we have got the second step completed. And let's see if we can have these much bigger numbers up. So in my ones column, I've got hundreds, tens, and ones. In my ones column, I've only got 0. Let's put that 0 in there. In my tens column, I have got 2 tens and 6 tens. If I add them up, I have 8 tens. And then I have got 300s and 100s, and if I add them up, 300s and add one more, I have got 400. So my answer would be, let's put it in nice green color so we can tell us the answer. 480. I've made a mistake here somewhere. Do you know what? That's fine. Let's keep it like that, because Mr. K has just made a mistake here, a huge mistake. And this mistake, when I walk around my class, I tell my students, what have you done here? And I've drawn over here and made the exact same mistake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub that off, and we're going to have a go again. My answer, and let's rub this off as well. My answer for this was 32. And my answer for this was 160. But I placed them in the wrong columns. How could I? So, my 160, let's rub some of this off to make some space. Let's rub some of this off. Let's make some space over here. And let's write this over here again. I know that the answer to this is 160. Right, let's add this up properly then. I've got hundreds, tens, and ones. This is what happens if you get your place value mixed up. I have got 160, add 32. That should definitely make more sense now. Now, if I add 0 at 2, I would get 2 ones. If I have 6 tens at 3 tens, I have 9 tens. And then 100 and nothing equals 100. Made such a big mistake there just because I had mixed up my columns. I put 3 in the hundreds columns, and that made my answer completely wrong. So that should teach you why place value, why understanding what number goes in which column is so important. So there we go. Made a mistake, but you know what? Mistakes are good for learning. Because if I hadn't made that mistake, you might have made it and not known where you got stuck. So I think for today's lesson, we'll leave it at that. And hopefully we can continue with the division of dividing a 2-digit number by a 1-digit number. Maybe in the next lesson, if that's what you want, or if you want something slightly different, then hopefully we can work on that. Sound good? Have we got some more practices? I might write down In fact, I will write down some examples of questions that you could do. You might do 26 times 4. You might do 23 times 6. And then I want you to do 36 times 4. See if you see any patterns. So have a go at these examples once the video is completed, and let me know how you get on. Thank you for joining me in today's lesson. I hope that was really helpful. And if you've got any questions, leave them in the chat section, and then I'll see you next time, and I'll hopefully try and answer them.
They're looking for someone who's passionate, someone who seems quite driven and motivated to do what prep needs us to do.
Where you can really make that difference is the other things that you do. Work experience is something lots of people have. Things like Duke of Edinburgh, charity work in your own time, things that show that you've gone out of your way to develop your behavioural skills. So entrepreneurial spirit, collaboration with other people, honesty and courage, those things that will really help you excel.
I did a summer placement in the water team, so I was designing flood defences and drainage systems. So these placements are a really good way to sort of get a taster of what we'll be doing when we graduate. So
the people that really stand out for me are those that are very well prepared. They present themselves and things like CVs and any experience they've had well, and just come across really positive and keen.